Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Partnerships for Profit. I'm your host, Ana Del Rio, and this week we're joined by Dana Brooks, shareholder at Fasig. Brooks, a powerhouse attorney known for her compassionate advocacy and fierce defense of the underdog. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Dana, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Great. Well, do us a favor and tell our audience, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got your start, how you got into law, all of that fun stuff.
Okay. Well, I actually got into law in high school. I worked part-time while I was in school. I only have like 10 hours of high school education.
Oh,
So
nice.
I joke with people. I tell them I worked full-time my junior and senior year of high school at a law firm. I did the law firm's books. I wasn't doing legal work. I was kind of a numbers person. So I did their books, and then that led to doing some real estate closings. So I joke that I had full benefits, a 401k, and a healthcare plan while I was in high school.
Amen. I love that.
They make you go to school so early. So like my senior year, I only had to take one class. So I'd show up at school at like 7:20, and I was done by 8 something. So I worked 8:30 to 5:30 like everybody else. So anyway, that got me a lot of experience and a lot of exposure, as you might imagine. And one of the paralegals there just started showing me, she maintained the law library, and she started showing me about how that worked and what pocket parts were. And so I started doing that, and I just kind of accumulated knowledge. But then for years, I worked as a paralegal. And then I went to school to become a clinical social worker. So I have a bachelor's and a master's in clinical social work, and I did that for a little bit. I worked with at-risk children mainly, but I also worked in an acute inpatient psychiatric hospital where I covered populations from adolescents to geriatrics in crisis. So that is what gives me a pretty good foundation to be a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer, because everybody we're dealing with is struggling. They're in some sort of a crisis. So that's something that I'm skilled at, and it doesn't upset me and doesn't, trigger me. I can help people kind of calm down in those situations. But after that, I was a family law mediator for a while. Again, those counseling skills come in real handy there. And then I decided, the heck with this, I'm going to go to law school. So I went to law school and graduated 3 days before I turned 40. And believe it or not, I had an opportunity of a lifetime to become a named partner in this law firm while I was still in law school. So the day I passed the bar, I got sworn as a lawyer at about 11:30 in the day by Judge John Cooper. And then at 4:30 the same day, I was made a named partner in this 30-year-old established personal injury law firm. So I hit the ground running, and that was a big thing for me because, as you might imagine, I had a target on my back. People were going, how did she get this opportunity? Who is she? What did she do? What's going on? So I had to really prove myself, and that was a big, big motivator for me. So once you kind of are shot out of a cannon like that, you got to keep going or you're just dropping. Nobody will ever remember your name.
That is such an amazing story. You have so many different things that you were able to incorporate into your profession and I must say the best ways. I mean, the social work, the mediation, things like that kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I'm so curious as to truly how that helps you with your clients. Could you kind of give more of, that?
Yeah, sure. Because I'm a personal injury lawyer.
Right.
My personal practice for years was medical malpractice. And that's dealing with people who trusted somebody who really let them down, and the consequences were catastrophic. So you better have some counseling skills. You better have some empathy. You better know where to meet your clients where they are, and to not treat them as, just somebody down there while you're doing this, intellectual legal work. You've got to go to their homes. You got to sit with them. Sometimes you just sit in silence with them and you just mourn with them. I find it very difficult to effectively advocate for our client, particularly in front of a jury, if I can't demonstrate for them what my client's feeling, because a lot of times people can't do that for themselves. They'll just tell you it's hard.
Yeah,
it was tough. They can't articulate it. So, you're their spokesperson, you're their voice. So I think you have to spend time with them. And in order to do that, you've got to yourself be comfortable sitting in a space with somebody who's suffering. A lot of people just can't do that. They want to take action and they want to make it better. But sometimes you just have to sit in somebody's suffering and experience with them.
No, absolutely. No, that I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, I have a background in I would say not a background, but I had started my whole path doing like mental health counseling.
Yeah.
Right. That was going to be my master's degree.
Yeah.
But then just what you said is the reason why I'm bringing it up is because some people cannot handle sitting there with them, and I feel it too much.
Yeah.
I realized that I that was not for me.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just like,
You make
oh,
yourself
wow.
sick. Yeah.
No, no, absolutely.
You can end up with two suffering people.
Exactly. And that's not,
Yeah.
you don't get anything done that way.
Nobody wins there. What I found though, that my problem was I'm an action person and I can listen and I can be calm and I can contain somebody else's stuff, but then I want to get to work and take action. So that's where clinical social work counseling wasn't enough for me. I needed to, when I was in counseling, I would hear people tell me what the problems are. I'm like, okay, we need an injunction against this person. We need to get the sheriffs to get this person out. We need to, I'm thinking of all these things I can do to make that person's life better.
Yeah.
So I thought, I've got to go and work on the advocacy side more so than the counseling side.
You really started this early. I mean, it's almost, I almost want to call you like a prodigy, really with the getting out of high school, working while you were in high school, finding, that gumption to like, get things done so early on and figuring out what it is that you want to do by trying these different, avenues, especially the paralegal work. I'm curious how that helped you as well.
That was an entree. I'll tell you a little bit more about my background. I was raised by a single mother in Pensacola, Florida. I'm in Tallahassee, Florida now. But my mother, back then it was tough. My dad kind of just left her in real bad financial shambles, never paid child support. And so she's having to feed us off of a high school, education, very hard work, very smart, should have gone to college, very, very smart woman. But, she had to grind it out. So I wanted to get off her payroll as soon as I could. So that was a big motivator for me. But when you live it's a double-edged sword. When you live with a single parent, they tend to treat you at a higher level than a child. I wouldn't say it's parentifying, but my mother shared with me her job. I understood how things worked. I understood she worked for a political body. So I understood politics at an earlier age. I understood influence. I understood when the things happen because of somebody's power instead of what's really fair. So I was a somewhat sophisticated, 15-year-old. So whenever I got the opportunity to be into an office, that just kind of worked that way. People always used to call me a brainiac. They're like, you know things you shouldn't know for years. What it really was exposure to adult things, I think is what it is. And I think that's why so many not children, I say that because I have an adult child who's 31. She's not a child, but she's my child. But I see so many in her age group who weren't exposed to the general things we were exposed to. So they lack a lot of skills. They may have an MBA, but they don't know how to fill out a check.
Right.
I was the opposite of that. I was not formally educated. I was educated by experience with people who are of higher education, higher socioeconomic status than me. So that was a big deal and a big part of the exposure, plus the motivation. I needed to make money. I didn't want to be a burden to my mother. You're
a true testament to, surrounding yourself by people that are going to bring you up.
You got to level up by your people. You'll find this in my experience, whether it's personal or professional. The crowds you're around is never going to maintain status quo. They're taking you down or they're bringing you up. So just pay attention to that.
That's such good. I love that key point. Oh my goodness. You became a team partner the very day you were sworn in.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Like, I know you said that you were, you had built a relationship.
Yeah. I can tell you, it makes sense once you hear the story, but yeah, that's so weird. I tell people you ought to rub my head anytime you see me. I am one lucky duck. This man who had this law firm, it was him and his partner had it for 20 something years, coming up with 30 years. And one of them did general PI and the other one did medical malpractice.
Mm.
And I had been working as a medical malpractice defense paralegal for like 14 years. And I worked for my husband, my then husband, who was a very, very talented, very good medical malpractice defense lawyer.
Mhm.
And, I don't know if anybody's ever married to somebody that they work with or for. You're immersed in it. You're marinated in it.
Of
So
course.
I felt like I probably was more like a 5-year associate than a paralegal because I did all his trials, all his mediation depositions, all the stuff that you would have exposure to as an associate. Plus, the man would not shut up about it. Like he would not leave it at the door. So I'm like, there's no way I wasn't going to know this.
Right.
But my former law partner, who my current law partner, Jimmy Fasig, and I bought the firm from, eventually bought the firm from, he knew that. He had litigated against my ex-husband. And he saw the work that I had done, and we had some experience together. And so they just ran into each other at lunch one day when I was in law school and I was trying to decide what I was going to do. I was either going to pursue family law because I've been a family law mediator, or medical malpractice because I'd been a medical malpractice paralegal.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, whichever grade is the highest, I'm going to go that route. Well, I booked medical malpractice, meaning I got the highest grade in the class, but I got a higher number value grade in family law. So I was like, universe, you're not making any sense to me. And then my husband ran into my former law partner and he said, hey, what's going on? Well, did you know Dana's in law school? No, when did she graduate? She's graduating this semester. Oh my God, have her call me. And as luck would have it, and this was a feminine thing. This is a feminist thing. This is the universe,
I was going to say
divine
that.
feminine who set this out for me, because the other partner, Silas Eubanks, he had a young lawyer coming up under him because both these guys wanted to retire. They wanted to sunset. And so they wanted somebody coming up under them, to take over the firm. So Silas had Jimmy Fasig, and Vince Barrett thought he had somebody coming up, but it was a woman, and she fell in love and she left town. And so he's like, let's start all over. And so, if you bring in somebody who's already got a book of business, they're going to want bigger shares. It's a riskier thing. So he's like, I need somebody who knows how to do this job, but is not greedy. So, that was me. And so he gave me this opportunity, and I was very fortunate because my husband was very successful. I didn't have to work at all. So I thought I can take this risk. If this turns out to be the worst decision I've ever made, I'm going to say yes. And it turned out to be, of course, the best decision I've ever made. And we've grown the firm. I haven't even been a lawyer 20 years yet, but we've grown the firm. And we've served so many more people. We've created really good paying jobs, and we're in 3 states now and doing gangbusters. So I'm very proud of it.
So you say that medical malpractice as well as personal injury. You said, is that what you guys primarily? Is that who you help primarily?
Yeah,
those types
yeah.
of
We're plaintiffs. We're only helping injured people, but most of the lawyers here do general personal injury. That could be anything from a car wreck to a catastrophic trucking accident to, slip and falls. It can also be things like sexual assaults. And those are cases that will come to me because that's my personal interests have always been in protecting and promoting women and girls. That's all. A lot of my nonprofit work goes into that. I wrote a book on it called Functional Feminism and a Political Guide to Women's Empowerment. I'm very much into that. So I get a lot of cases in my personal practice now, to the extent I have one, because most of what I do is developing, growing the firm. But the cases I will personally take aren't medical malpractice anymore. They're cases where someone's been personally victimized really, really badly. It could be rape. It could be, prolonged sexual abuse at a military academy. It could be, abuse by priests, things like that. Employers, people, making it a condition of your employment to be chased around the, receptionist desk and called all kinds of names, just stuff like that. I think when people want a woman to stick up for them or a woman to listen to them, they kind of reach out to me. That's what my personal practice has evolved into. No,
absolutely. I love that. Could you do me a favor and tell us a story about, there be a case that, has some sort of transformative, something that you could share with us?
Yeah. I had a case that was so crazy.
I'm here for it. It's okay.
I tell you, I used to be invited every year to the Florida State University College of Law's first year torts class.
Okay.
They gave me a whole hour, the whole class, just to talk about this one case. I call it my home wrecking shrink case. It was crazy because it had so many legal issues and ethical issues. And it was a perfect case for me because I'd been a shrink. But this man, my client, he'd been married 25 years, the love of his life, had 3 beautiful, strapping sons. And they had lived in a bigger city, moved down here, and they wanted to, kind of condense their lives, kind of cash out, live a slower lifestyle, that sort of thing. And they were having some squabbles like people do at that point. And so she said, you need to go talk to somebody and fix yourself. So she said, who do you want me to go to? You go to this guy. He goes to the guy. Well, that guy himself is having a lot of financial and marital problems, which I assume is the reason he didn't, follow boundaries and professional ethics. And he does what he usually does and sees my client for several visits and said, I need to speak to your wife. And that's very normal. Brings her in, they talk. Well, they start developing a relationship. Next thing you know, they're having an affair. They're in love. He gives the woman a script to tell him how to break up with my client, kick him out of the house. Shrink moves into my client's house with the wife and kids and all that. And then next thing you know, they're getting divorced, and you follow the money trail and you see where that goes. And so I can say all this because I had to have a trial over this case. I thought to myself, this man will not ever try this case. He just had a lapse in judgment. He just, wasn't, just his life's falling apart, got the better of him. This is a lesson. He'll, remove himself from practice, get his act together, maybe rehab a little bit, and, it'll be fine. I don't want to ruin you, man. This was a major screw up. But he did. He doubled down like they do. And I'm like, okay, I think I deposed that man for days.
Oh my God.
It was just nuts. And so we have to go to the jury. And the jury goes, yeah, you can't do that. Just absolutely hard no. But anyway, it was so crazy because we'd gotten so close to trial, and they recused the judge and accused her of things she hadn't done just to get a new judge. We had an 11-hour evidentiary hearing, and then they, supposedly knew about something to recuse the judge, but they waited to see how the evidentiary hearing was going to go before they brought it up. I mean, just the shysterest law, just the shysterest lawyering you've ever seen in your life. But I mean, you can see how much time it's taken just to get to this point. But that was one of those ones where, like, we really did get a contact from like Lifetime or one of those movies. Yeah,
that's what I thought. I was like, that sounds like a movie or some sort of.
It is. We've been yeah. And you would think you would get that if you're practicing family law. And believe me, there was a lot of family law attorneys in there who got deposed, and a lot of shrinks got deposed. And I was like, why are you making me try this case?
Oh my goodness.
But that's just how it goes.
So I can't get over that one. That one was quite funny. Oh my goodness. So the biggest lesson that you've learned about fighting for the underdog against powerful corporations. What's that about?
You're not going to like this one. This is disheartening. That people really only care about themselves.
Yeah.
And when they hear about something happening to somebody else, it's like, oh, and then they just go on to what they're doing. And people tend to be very cynical, and they're like, well, what'd you do? What were you wearing? Why were you there?
Right.
Did you follow up? Did you, so we're not very instinctively concerned about people who claim to be victims. That's not an American strong construct, the victim, so, I try to empower my clients to say, listen, I didn't need to be dealing with this. I'm doing everything right. You're the one who came in and disrupted my apple cart. I'm the one making money, paying my taxes. You need to explain yourself, not like, oh, I felt bad and I probably shouldn't have let him in. I probably should have done that. Step into your power.
Amen. What advice would you give a young woman in law who wanted to lead without losing their heart in the process?
Come see me. And I say that because that happens a lot. I have a lot of young women come to see me, and I'm 57, but like I said, I've been a lawyer 17 years, but I've been in the legal world since I was 16, so 40 years. And I've seen quite an evolution of how women were treated. When I started, you had to wear closed-toe shoes, pantyhose, or knee highs. It was just nuts. You had to call everybody Mr. And whatever. And you if they started telling off-color jokes, you just sat there and kept your mouth shut, didn't say anything about it. And then I think we've had a little bit of an overcorrection to, wow, now you just can't have any fun. You can't say anything or somebody's going to cry about everything. And I don't like that either. I'm perceived, I believe, as a very tough person, but I'm also the person people come to when they've got a very serious problem that they're concerned about. Like, I get a lot of cases when I did medical malpractice. I got a lot of cases, male genitalia problems. They don't want to talk to those men about it. They want to talk to me because they think I'm going to be, I'll cure enough, but I'll be tough. So my advice would be, don't pretend to be somebody you're not. Don't dress up like a lawyer. Don't what you think a lawyer is. Be a genuine person. Everybody can smell a fake. Children can smell a fake. So you got to be yourself. And you can't think that by caring about somebody, it weakens you as a woman. I would tell you to do this. Watch your voice. A lot of women's voices make them sound shrill. And you can sound like, instead of something substantive. So one of the things I tell them to do is video record yourself. Look at how you sound. Look at how you, come across. And that doesn't mean then go 100% change your personality. It just means be mindful of it.
Right. No, exactly. That's
don't get in your head. Don't stay in your head about what you think a woman lawyer needs to be. Be who you are.
Be authentic. That's great. That's great advice. Well, do me a favor and tell everybody how they can find you, where they can find you and get, help from you.
Okay. I am Dana Brooks. My law firm is Fasig, Fasig, Fasig Brooks. And I am at 850-777-7777. That's for the firm. My personal cell, I'll give it out to everybody. It's on my Facebook page and my business card, 850-766-2825. And my email is Dana, D-A-N-A, at FasigBrooks.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Dana. It was great talking to you and hearing your stories. I love how you got into law. It's such an amazing story. But I hope everybody else enjoyed it as well. And again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.